Target date funds are sold with one of the most attractive promises in retirement investing. Choose the year closest to your retirement, buy one fund, and let the professionals handle everything else. No allocation decisions, no rebalancing calendar, no need to decide when to reduce risk. It sounds like retirement investing on autopilot, and for many investors, that simplicity is genuinely valuable. But simple does not mean personalized. Automatic does not mean risk-free. And the year printed on the fund does not tell you nearly enough about what you actually own. Two funds with 2050 in their names can follow different strategies, hold different levels of stock exposure, charge different costs, and produce very different experiences during a market crash. In 2026, that matters even more because at least one major target date provider has changed its glide path to keep certain investors more heavily exposed to stocks. So before treating a target date ETF like a complete retirement plan, we need to open the hood and understand what the machine is actually doing. Let's begin with the basic mechanism. A target date ETF is essentially a professionally managed portfolio that changes its asset allocation as a specific year approaches. Imagine that you expect to retire around 2050. You might choose a 2050 target date ETF. When retirement is still decades away, the portfolio will typically hold a high percentage of stocks because you have more time to recover from market declines. As 2050 gets closer, the fund gradually moves part of the portfolio from stocks into bonds and other relatively defensive assets. The fund also handles rebalancing. If stocks rise faster than bonds and become too large a percentage of the portfolio, the manager adjusts the holdings back toward the fund's target allocation. That is the real product, not merely diversification, but an automated risk management schedule. However, the fund is not monitoring your salary, pension, social security strategy, health costs, other investments, or actual retirement readiness. It is following a predetermined allocation model based largely on time. And before analyzing that model, we need to clear up an important source of confusion. A target date ETF and a target date mutual fund are not exactly the same product. The retirement strategy can be similar, but the investment wrapper is different. A target date mutual fund is normally bought and sold once per day at its end-of-day net asset value. It is also the format many Americans are most likely to encounter inside a workplace retirement plan. A target date ETF trades on an exchange throughout the day, just like VOO or another traditional ETF. Its market price can move slightly above or below the value of its underlying assets, and investors may face a bid-ask spread when trading. For a long-term investor, those trading differences are usually less important than the fund's allocation, glide path, diversification, and expenses. Inside a tax-advantaged account such as an IRA, the ETF structure may also provide less practical tax benefit than it would in a taxable brokerage account. There is another complication. Some workplace retirement plans use collective investment trusts rather than ETFs or mutual funds, so the product in your 401k may operate under a different legal structure. The key lesson is that ETF does not automatically make the retirement strategy superior. The wrapper tells you how the fund trades. The glide path tells you how it manages risk. So let's look at the glide path. The glide path is the engine behind every target date fund. It describes how the fund's allocation is expected to change as the investor moves from early career toward retirement and potentially through retirement. At the beginning of the journey, the portfolio usually emphasizes growth. That normally means heavy stock exposure, including U.S. stocks, international stocks, and sometimes smaller allocations to emerging markets or real estate. Over time, the fund generally reduces stock exposure and increases fixed income exposure. The objective is to lower volatility as the investor gets closer to needing the money. But this is where investors often make a dangerous assumption. There is no universal glide path. One provider may believe a 50-year-old investor should remain very aggressive. Another may begin reducing risk much earlier. One fund may hold 40% in stocks at retirement, while another fund with the same target year may hold more. Neither approach is automatically correct. Each represents a different judgment about growth, inflation, longevity, and market risk. And the differences do not stop at the retirement date because target date funds can follow one of two broad philosophies, a to glide path or a through glide path. A to-retirement glide path generally reaches its most conservative allocation at or near the target date. After that point, the allocation may remain relatively stable. A through-retirement glide path continues changing after the target year. It assumes that retirement is not the end of the investment horizon because the investor may need the portfolio to last another 20 or 30 years. As a result, a through fund may carry more stock exposure around the retirement date and continue reducing that exposure afterward. This difference can materially change the investor's experience. More stock exposure can support long-term growth and help defend against inflation and longevity risk, but it can also produce deeper short-term losses at the exact moment the investor begins withdrawing money. A more conservative fund may reduce volatility near retirement, but becoming too conservative too early can limit the growth needed to support a long retirement. That is why simply selecting the closest year is not enough. You need to know where the glide path ends, how quickly it changes, and how much equity exposure remains at retirement. And in 2026, this is not just theoretical. A major provider revised its glide path to maintain more equity exposure during part of the accumulation period. Here is a real example of why investors must review a target date strategy instead of assuming it will remain unchanged forever. Effective on or around June 1, 2026, certain iShares LifePath target date funds began implementing a revised target allocation. Under the updated glide path, applicable funds can hold up to approximately 6 percentage points more equity depending on the fund's target year, beginning 30 years before retirement. Importantly, the stated equity exposure at retirement remained unchanged. The adjustment primarily affected part of the journey leading toward retirement. Why would a provider make this change? The basic trade-off is straightforward. Keeping more money in stocks for longer may increase long-term growth potential and improve the portfolio's ability to compound during the accumulation phase. But higher equity exposure also means greater sensitivity to market declines. This does not make the updated strategy good or bad by itself. It demonstrates something more important. The glide path is an active design decision, not a law of nature. Your automatic portfolio can change because the provider's capital market assumptions and retirement research change. But the provider is still designing for a broad population. It is not designing exclusively for you. And that leads to the most overlooked limitation of the entire target date concept. Consider 3 investors who all plan to retire in 2050. The first investor expects a reliable pension, has a high tolerance for volatility, and may not need to withdraw much from the portfolio during the early years of retirement. The second has no pension, moderate risk tolerance, and expects the investment portfolio to provide a meaningful portion of monthly income. The third may need to retire early, dislikes large losses, and could begin withdrawing money before 2050. All 3 could be directed toward the same 2050 fund, but their capacity to take risk is clearly different. The fund knows the approximate year. It does not know how much you have saved, how much you are contributing, when you will claim Social Security, whether you own other assets, or how much income you will need. This does not make target date ETFs useless. It means they should be viewed as standardized retirement portfolios rather than personalized financial plans. For many people, a sensible default is better than a complicated portfolio they cannot manage. But to evaluate that default properly, we need to examine what is actually held inside the fund. Let's use a real 2050 target date ETF as our case study. As of July 20th, 2026, the iShares LifePath Target Date 2050 ETF, ticker ITDF, reported approximately 93.55% equity exposure, 6.04% fixed income, and 0.41% in cash or derivatives. That is a highly growth-oriented portfolio, which makes sense for a fund designed for investors who may still have roughly 24 years before retirement. The fund reported only 11 direct holdings, but that does not mean the investor owns only 11 securities. ITDF is a fund of funds. Its direct holdings are primarily underlying ETFs, and those ETFs can collectively provide exposure to thousands of stocks and bonds. This layered structure allows one ETF to combine U.S. equities, international equities, emerging markets, bonds, and other exposures in a single portfolio. It is operationally simple for the investor, but structurally more complex underneath. The allocation is also not permanent. It can change as the fund moves along its glide path, as the manager rebalances, and as the underlying strategy is updated. So the correct question is not only how many holdings does the ETF have, it is what exposures do those holdings create, and what does it cost me to own and trade the complete structure? That brings us to the hidden cost stack. The most visible cost is the expense ratio. For ITDF, the reported expense ratio was 0.11%. That is the recurring fund expense stated in the prospectus and deducted indirectly from the fund's assets over time. But an ETF can also involve trading friction. As of July 20th, 2026, ITDF reported a 30-day median bid-ask spread of 0.12%. The spread is the gap between the price buyers are offering and the price sellers are asking. This is not another annual management fee, so you should not simply add 0.11% and 0.12% and call the result the yearly cost. The expense ratio is ongoing. The spread is associated with trading and can change with market conditions, liquidity, order size, and execution quality. Depending on the account, investors might also face brokerage charges or tax consequences, although many U.S. brokers now offer commission-free ETF trading. The deeper point is that low cost has multiple dimensions. For a long-term investor who trades infrequently, the expense ratio may matter more than a small spread. For someone making frequent or large trades in a less liquid ETF, execution deserves more attention. But cost is not the only way investors accidentally damage the strategy. Sometimes the biggest problem is what they add beside it. A common investor behavior looks like this. Someone buys a target date ETF for diversification. Then they add an S&P 500 ETF because they want more U.S. growth. Then they add a NASDAQ 100 ETF because technology has performed well. Eventually, the simple portfolio contains several overlapping funds. The target date ETF may already own substantial exposure to large U.S. companies and technology stocks through its underlying ETFs. Adding VOO or a similar S&P 500 fund increases exposure to many companies already inside the target date portfolio. Adding a NASDAQ 100 fund can push the portfolio even further toward mega-cap growth and technology. This is not necessarily wrong. An investor may intentionally want those tilts. The problem begins when the investor believes more ticker symbols automatically mean more diversification. The target date ETF continues rebalancing its own internal holdings, but it cannot rebalance the separate ETFs in the investor's account. At the total portfolio level, the intended glide path has been diluted. This is why every holding should have a clear job. When you combine a target date ETF with other funds, calculate the complete allocation rather than evaluating each ticker in isolation. Otherwise, the portfolio may be less automated and more concentrated than you realize. And even a perfectly constructed allocation cannot eliminate the largest risks in retirement. A target date ETF can manage asset allocation. It cannot guarantee a successful retirement. The first major threat is sequence of returns risk. A severe market decline shortly before or after retirement can be especially damaging because the investor may be withdrawing money while asset prices are depressed. The second threat is inflation. Bonds may reduce volatility, but a portfolio that becomes too conservative can struggle to preserve purchasing power during a long retirement. The third threat is longevity. The portfolio may need to generate income for decades, and no target date on a fund can predict how long an individual investor will live. The fourth threat is undersaving. This is the least exciting problem, and often the most important. No glide path can fully compensate for inadequate contributions, unrealistic income expectations, or consistently withdrawing too much. The investment product controls only part of the retirement equation. Your savings rate, retirement age, Social Security strategy, taxes, healthcare costs, spending plan, and withdrawal policy can be just as important as the ETF itself. That is the central philosophy of this channel. Boring investment products can work extremely well, but only when investors understand what those products can and cannot do. And before we finish with the decision framework, a brief message for investors who value that approach. If you prefer retirement investing without hype, predictions, or magical stock picks, subscribe to Boring Money Wins. We break down ETFs, retirement accounts, REITs, bonds, stocks, and long-term portfolio strategies in plain English, while still examining the details that most simplified explanations leave out. And if this analysis is helping you understand what is actually inside a target date ETF, click the like button. It helps YouTube show this video to more investors who may currently own one of these funds without understanding the glide path behind it. The objective here is not to make investing unnecessarily complicated. It is to identify which complications actually matter so the final portfolio can remain simple for the right reasons. Now, let's return to the practical decision. Who is a target date ETF genuinely designed for, and who may need something more customized? A target date ETF can be an excellent fit for an investor who wants one fund simplicity, accepts the provider's glide path, and does not want to manage multiple asset classes manually. It may also help investors avoid some common behavioral mistakes, such as chasing recent performance, abandoning diversification, or refusing to rebalance after a strong market move. The structure is particularly useful when simplicity increases the probability that the investor will consistently contribute and remain invested. However, it may be a weaker fit for someone with a complex retirement situation, multiple pensions, significant real estate, concentrated company stock, unusual tax considerations, or a risk tolerance that differs sharply from the fund's default assumptions. Advanced investors may also prefer full control over stock exposure, bond duration, international allocation, tax location, or the pace of de-risking. But customization creates responsibility. A self-managed portfolio is not automatically better. It only becomes better when the investor can design, monitor, rebalance, and hold it consistently. The real decision is not simple versus sophisticated. It is convenience versus control. A target date ETF exchanges some personalization for automation. Whether that trade is worthwhile becomes much easier to determine when you apply the following 7-question checklist. Before buying a target date ETF, ask 7 questions. First, is the target year appropriate for when you expect to begin withdrawing money? Second, does the fund follow a to-retirement or through-retirement glide path? Third, how much stock exposure does it hold today? Fourth, how much stock exposure is it expected to hold at retirement and afterward? Fifth, what is the complete expense ratio? 6, how liquid is the ETF and what trading spread are investors currently facing? 7th, how does the fund interact with every other investment and retirement income source you own? If you cannot answer those questions, you are not yet evaluating the strategy. You're only selecting a date. The final verdict is balanced. A well-designed target date ETF can be an excellent default. It can deliver broad diversification, professional rebalancing, automatic risk adjustments, and behavioral simplicity at a relatively low cost. But it is not a complete retirement plan, and the date in the name is not a personalized recommendation. Set it and forget it only works after you understand what you set, why you chose it, and when it should be reviewed. Boring can win, but informed boring wins more consistently.